Did you know you're listening to the IoT Weekly Podcast, episode number 16?
Hello and welcome to episode number 16 of the IoT Weekly Podcast, brought to you by GearForge Software and sponsored by IoT Fuse Conference. My name is Cliff, and I'm joined by my co-host and good friend Matthew.
Howdy.
Hey, Matthew. Hey.
How's it going, man?
Good. Yourself?
I'm doing wonderful.
Yeah.
It is sunny and like 50 degrees.
And you know, it's St. Paddy's Day this coming weekend.
I didn't even think about that.
No, I went to an Irish pub for lunch today, and as you can imagine, the corned beef was flowing.
I know which one you went to. I'm jealous.
Yeah, they got tents. They're doing bands tonight and everything, so it should be pretty fun.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah. So what have you been up to, Matthew?
Well, you know, the last couple of weeks have been super duper busy on the work front. So honestly, I've been doing a lot of project management for IoT stuff.
Nice.
Go figure, right?
Yeah. No Django?
Well, I've been doing some of that too. But more to the point, I've been playing with PDFs. And
Yes, really?
yeah, you know my opinion on PDFs, Cliff.
They're best
Programmatically, oh no, they're terrible. It's like the worst format ever created.
I was like best in the trash.
Yeah, exactly. Programmatically trying to create PDFs is a nightmare.
Oh my gosh.
It is just so finicky, and it's pretty slick. So I found a command line tool that basically takes HTML and spits out a PDF, and it's surprisingly well formatted.
Really?
Yeah, and I've even got it working with, like, I'm using a JavaScript library to create charts.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. It works great. It takes like all the pain out of it. So that's been kind of fun. Yeah.
I remember in a previous role, we had to do that at scale and like create thousands each day, and it was just a nightmare.
And PDFs are the worst.
Absolute nightmare. Oh, I hated that.
Yeah.
And prior to that, I used to love PDFs as just a basic user.
Well, using them is never the problem.
No.
It's when you have to create and or edit them.
Yes.
Not
Yes.
fun.
Not at all. Oh my gosh.
So what have you been up to?
Well, as I think I told you, I was in Mexico last week, and I think I missed just a little bit of the last show. So sorry about that. Everything was
the very last second, I think.
Yep, everything was solid right up to that point, and everything was good. So we got back Sunday, and as you can imagine, I think I had some bad ice or some bad tacos while I was down there. So I spent Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday recovering a little bit from Mexico, but feeling perfect now. And I was playing with a little bit of Django myself this week, as you know.
Yeah, you were, yeah.
A lot of fun, I admit, just diving in there. I think the hardest part is just I've never dealt with Python as more of the true semicolon style languages.
You're used to brackets.
I'm used to brackets, semicolon. It's like, who puts a colon after an if statement, for God's sakes? What happened to parentheses?
Yeah. Python's it's kind of a different thing, but
It is.
I don't know. I got started with Python kind of early on, and it's a little, it's one of those white space sensitive languages.
Yep.
It's a little hard to get used to if you're not used to it, but it certainly has its good points. I think, back in the day, I used to use it for a lot of just utility scripts.
Oh, sure, I can see that.
But then I haven't really for some years. But it's interesting. I've mentioned this before. Python, the popularity of Python just continues to rise. In the latest Stack Overflow developer survey, climbed again. I don't remember which language it bumped off the rung, but it's won more popular than last year. So yeah, seems to be continuing to grow.
That is so funny. All the closet Python folks out there.
I know, right? Exactly.
Yes, exactly. That just cracks me up. So do we have any feedback this week, Matthew? Do you get any type of recipes or anything?
I haven't gotten any recipes except for Zainab. She was very kind to send me a recipe, but unfortunately, she doesn't really count as a member of the podcast. I want to get a recipe from somebody else. Soup recipe, preferably.
Yeah.
So no feedback this week, but we do have 569 followers on Twitter.
Oh
That's
my
very exciting.
gosh, that's amazing.
I know. So starting from 0 just a few weeks ago, here we are.
Yeah.
Look at that.
That is just astounding to me.
That's right. So I think we owe somebody another button. So we'll have to.
We do.
Yeah, we'll have to pick somebody, and Zainab will be doing that, I'm sure, soon.
Most definitely, and she's been posting out some really cool pictures of the hat. So if you like it, let me know.
Excellent. And then when we get 600 followers, we'll do another drawing. So you can be entered for a chance to win an IoT button from Amazon. This is the Wi-Fi version.
Yep.
And if you boost our tweets by retweeting them, we certainly appreciate that. And we'll put your name in the hat, the magical hat, extra for those retweets. So, so yes, follow us, retweet us. That would be great. And then we will send you, assuming you live in the continental U.S. Well, do we ship to Hawaii, Cliff?
That's a great question. I may deliver it personally to Hawaii. Yes.
Yes. But we certainly are glad for any boosts that you give us. So thank you very much. And if you have recipes to send me, you can shoot us a message at podcast@gearforgesoftware.com. That is our email address. We like to call that legacy communication.
Yes.
But if you're one of the hip kids, I mean, it's funny, Twitter is like 10 years old too. So
I know, isn't that crazy?
But anyway, we're at GearForge IoT on Twitter. Yeah, so please get in touch. Send us a recipe.
Yeah, and I'm not on Snapchat, so you can't do it there. Sorry.
I'm not either. Yeah, we should set up a Slack channel.
Yeah, we could do that.
That'd be kind of fun. So, Cliff, who's sponsoring the show these days?
I know. It's super exciting. So the IoT Fuse Conference 2018, just around the corner. We're actually going to be there, aren't we, Matthew?
Yes, physically present in the building.
Yes, yes. Well, and prior to the main conference, there are 2 days of workshops, and Matthew and I will be presenting on a topic, and it may have to do with possibly some practical machine learning. Is that correct?
Maybe practical machine learning. Yes, that's right. So yeah, the idea there is trying to demystify it a little bit, sort of like machine learning for the everyday person, not having to be a data scientist. So
exactly, you don't need the P, the H, the D.
Do you need the P, the H, the P?
I think you might be able to get by with the J and the S.
Yeah.
But not a JD. I'll stop there because it's getting a little bit much now.
It was just enough.
I know. So the show sponsor, of course, is the IoT Fuse Conference 2018. It aims to unite accomplished doers, makers, and hackers with the brightest executives, entrepreneurs, and innovators. It's now in its 4th year. It brings together a robust community of IoT practitioners, developers, and makers who strive to build a deeper understanding of where the Internet of Things is today, where it's headed in the future, and how IoT-associated technologies and use cases can improve the physical world in which we live. You can learn more at iotfuse.com. Again, iotfuse.com.
That is so awesome.
I know. It's gonna be so much fun, and it's just right around the corner.
Excellent. Yes, we hope to see you there. Come and see us.
Yes.
We have a booth, Cliff.
We do have a booth. I don't exactly know what's going to be in the booth except you and I at this point. Um,
Judging by history, whiskey, maybe?
oh, that's a great idea. Actually, you know what we could do? We could do tequila. I got a great deal on some tequila
Yeah.
in Mexico, and I brought a few liters back with us. So,
So listeners, you think I'm joking, but I remember when Cliff set up the recruiting booth at a conference, and his everybody had their like little knickknacks and their buttons and their erasers, and he had a bottle of scotch.
I was probably one of those popular uh, booths there, if I remember correctly.
You were.
It was
You
great.
were. Hey, do they allow this here? I don't know, but I'm gonna try.
Well, I found out they started a rule after that saying you weren't allowed to bring liquor.
Well, see, you're just keeping them honest.
Yeah,
Like
well,
you
and
don't have a
they
rule.
and the sponsors came by for a shot.
I
So
know. Everybody loved it. Yeah,
yes, all right. So maybe some tequila. I think that's a great idea.
I do too. So, Cliff, it's time for the news.
Bum bum bum. All
Do
right.
you want to talk about cold chain?
Cold Chain. Yeah, isn't that a band?
I think you saw them recently.
I think I did. They were excellent. Oh my God, they're
You didn't.
so good.
You didn't know who they were.
No, I did not. I did not. I didn't know who they were until I actually had listened to their songs. I was like, oh, these are the guys like every other song on the radio that I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
They
You've
sing
heard.
it.
Yeah, totally. You've heard the songs. Yeah, but if you were a big fan, then that's what I. That's what I.
Yes, yes. So afterwards, I was like, gosh, they are such a great band. Wow, such a good show.
Cold chain. I mean
Yes,
Coldplay.
yes. Oh, that's right. Coldplay, not Cold Chain. Oh my gosh, this is one of those Fridays, isn't it, Matthew?
I think all of them are.
Well, the first article that we've got here is to keep cold chain safe, not Coldplay, but cold chain. NanoThings and Senet tag the IoT. And so this is brought to us from IoT Evolution World by Cynthia Artens. So CNET, a software and network service and operations company, has built a LoRaWAN tag network in the US, clearly believes little things mean a lot. Last week, they announced a strategic partnership with NanoThings, an IoT logistics solution provider, to use nano electronics to make a device connectivity less expensive with low-cost tags deployable by the millions. So NanoThings has rolled out a new offering called a NanoTagä, and they're first aiming it with CNET as the network and cloud connectivity supplier at the asset tracking and cold chain industries. So what they're saying is like they theorize that by combining the nanotechnologies with widely available and affordable low power area network coverage, so LPWAN, and managing the connected things becomes easier and a lot less expensive than alternatives such as satellite, cellular, and narrowband. It's going to be a lot cheaper. So that's the scenario. And the big thing it says is like their ambitions are not small. So according to their new release, the combination is expected to disrupt the logistics industry, and they've got a patent file for the world's first and only low power wide area network enabled disposable environmental sensors. So I realize it's a whole lot, but the
Say
sensor,
that 3 times fast.
I know, oh my gosh, is supposed to be thinner than a credit card and powered by an ultra-thin, non-toxic battery. And the tags help bridge the gap between RFID and cellular-based asset trackers. So I'll be really curious because the biggest thing they say is like, hey, it's right now, it's limited by cost, size, or connectivity, right? Because cellular-based is expensive and power-hungry. RFID, I mean, your read range is just tiny. And then CNET's low power network is saying that law offers an inexpensive connectivity. So as most folks know or don't know, LoRa actually you can actually connect with that over many miles. So having a massive network allows you to essentially just move from one pole to the next, similar to like, let's say, your cell towers of today, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting as having this roll out here I'd be really curious to see how this works. So if I think if anybody remembers from a previous article, I believe it was SimTech, right? Came out with a NanoTagä also. Yep, here it is. SimTech announces industry first disposable LoRa-enabled NanoTagä. So it's interesting, they're all nanotags. So, but this one is Senet, S-E-N-E-T. So I don't want to get folks confused here between the two very different things. And I actually spoke with a representative from SimTech just a bit ago, Matthew.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
and
I remember that.
Yeah, and I was like, hey, can I get a couple of these? Because they said it was supposed to be available the first quarter of this year. Not available. They're having some issues with production time, actually.
Common problem.
Yep. They expect them not to be available until 2019 for the SimTech nanotags.
That's a long time.
It is. And what I'm finding, because that's one of the things I asked, I was like, well, from a cost basis, are these pennies on the dollar, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I can tell you the SimTech are not pennies on the dollar. And the interesting thing here is I'm looking for price for these, the NanoTagä from NanoThings and Senet, and I don't see a price in here at all.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't kind of say, I don't see, it says low expense, but I mean, when I talked to SimTech,
that's relative.
Yeah, I mean, they were saying that the tags are probably going to be between 100 to 200 bucks.
Wait, what?
Yeah. So they're saying
per tag?
Per tag.
What?
Yeah.
Well, that seems way too high.
Well, and that's why they were targeting. If you actually look at their use cases, they're targeting high dollar valued assets essentially.
Which you would have to. For that.
Yeah, but it drives me crazy because in the description of theirs, it said a disposable tag. I'm like, well, I'm not going to throw away $100 tag for that.
Yeah, disposable. Right. Not disposable to me.
No, because they had actually presented theirs as something you could put into clothing. I was like, well, that's awesome. So I wondered, like this NanoTagä.
That's more than the clothes.
I know. Yeah. Well, you wear some pretty spendy stuff, Matthew, don't you? Like $1,000 jackets and things?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Not at all.
So I'm curious about this.
I shop the clearance rack.
Same here.
So I get like a $16 hoodie and put a $200
NanoTagä on it. Yes. Well, it probably the hoodie is probably a Star Wars hoodie, so you need something like that on there.
Oh well, I do, yeah. For all the people trying to steal my Star Wars clothing.
Exactly. But this NanoTagä, again, it doesn't say in here, it says low cost, but it doesn't say what, the low cost or anything like that. So
that really always makes me a little suspicious, you know. Well, low cost compared to what? Now, I understand, everything is coming down in price, right? But there are an awful lot of applications that, tags at the price point for SimTech's tag is probably just way too high if that's really what it turns out to be. It's got to be, it's got to be a lot cheaper. But so we're talking about cold chain here, which in the article, it defines that as basically your temperature controlled supply chain, right?
Correct.
So we're talking about food probably?
Well, it's talking about harvested food and pharmaceuticals.
Pharmaceuticals, that makes sense too. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then food at least, you'd think that would have to be, you'd have to have some cheaper tags to make that.
Well, that's what I'm wondering.
Make economic sense?
Well, yeah, because these things say they're long-lasting battery, temper and pressure and shock sensing, and a proprietary open sensor function that determines when packages are open. So, I mean, if this is something that's going in each package, I mean, that's...
Yeah, would have to be cheap enough.
You would think it's got to be cheap, right?
Yeah, it seems like a lot of features for something that would be that cheap, though.
That's what I struggle with. I'm like, I mean, just putting these sensors together, I'm like, gosh, I don't know, $20 to $50. I'm just guessing.
Right.
I would guess $20 to $50 at least. I mean, if you think about a LoRa tag coupled with temperature, pressure, shock sensing, and then I don't know, whatever this open sensor. I mean, even if let's say you got it at dirt cheap, that's at least $25, I would think.
Yeah, right. I mean, but if you're thinking about it in terms of shipping, if it's a big, like a shipment of stuff,
Yep.
with a sensor, that probably is totally makes sense price wise.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree. And I would think pharmaceuticals, if you've got a big shipment of pharmaceuticals, I wouldn't see why a 25 to $50 type item would be out of reach.
Yeah, so in those industrial sort of cases, I think that probably makes sense. But I feel like there's a little bit of a disconnect there, just in terms of, sort of the like the use case being presented,
Yeah.
and maybe the reality.
Yeah. In my head, I'd love to see these things like pennies on the dollar, right?
Yeah,
I
like
mean,
50 cents.
well, yeah, even less than that. How do you get these like you get a big roll off of stickers or something like that, and you stick them in there, and you could actually do asset tracking?
Oh yeah, there'd be so many opportunities then.
Oh my gosh, it'd be crazy. Absolutely crazy. Yeah, so that's what I would love to see, but I mean, I think we're still a ways out. I'll be watching for this. I don't know where to pick these up. It doesn't actually have a link of where to buy these.
Hmm.
So I'll probably end up reaching out to the company here just to see if I can't get more information or put in a pre-order for one or two of these just to take a look at them.
Interesting.
Yep.
Very cool.
So and if anything's from NanoThings or Senet is listening and they would like to give us some information, I'd love just chat with you about these a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm always interested. I mean, we see these articles, and about these new kind of sensors or new products that are coming out, and I feel like most of the time I feel like the article just doesn't do it justice,
Yeah.
but neither does the marketing info on the website. You know what I mean?
Oh, I
It's
totally get it.
it's marketing stuff. So
Yep,
the press release is
precisely.
all written, sort of written to present the thing in the best light, and that makes sense. I mean, trying to sell a product here, but I'd like to kind of get the little bit more granularity to
Yeah, a
understand
lot of times you want like a
what is
data sheet or something at that point just so you have more information.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like price is a big part of that equation.
Yep, totally
It's
agree.
like it sounds super cool on paper, but if it's $200, the uses are totally different than if it's
100%.
$10. So
Yep.
yeah, or 50 cents.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah, 50 cents, I would throw these things in each one of these boxes and then just throw them away at the end of the day. I wouldn't even worry about it then.
yeah,
The
totally.
biggest thing I'd worry about is just making sure they're disposed of properly. But I mean, after that, then you're okay. Hmm.
Cool. That's interesting.
So, yeah, as you know, I love any of these things. These are one of my favorite areas to talk about. What do you got here, Matthew?
Well, so I want to talk about EdgeX Foundry today. So
Edge
basically,
X Foundry?
yeah. So basically, um,
Is
this
this a
is
Microsoft thing?
no, it's an open source project from the Linux Foundation.
Oh, way off.
Yeah, and the idea is here that it sort of provides a common framework focused on IoT edge computing. So, you know,
Oh, nice.
yeah, sort of the idea that you've got all these devices out there now, and it really is kind of focused on industry, from what I can see.
Huh.
But you got all these devices out there now that have basically it's more than just sensors. They have their own computing power, right?
Yep.
And so this is sort of a collection of open source microservices primarily,
Hmm.
um, that are intended to sort of help with this connectivity. They're focusing on basically saying, okay, I'll just read the description from the website here. But EdgeX Foundry is focused on industrial IoT edge, leveraging cloud native principles, so loosely coupled microservices, platform independence, architected to meet specific needs of the IoT edge, including accommodating both IP and non-IP based connectivity protocols, security and system management for widely distributed compute nodes, and scaling down to highly constrained devices. So I think the idea here is this is sort of a, it's intended to be, because it is open source, it means you don't have like a proprietary platform, which from my perspective, that's super attractive.
Mm-hmm.
It's all written in Java 8 at this point, but of course they're microservices, so you can connect to them using anything, really, right? And the idea is that having sort of an open platform, I mean, it's the whole philosophy of open source behind it. So, you know, an open platform will spark innovation in some ways that closed platforms don't, primarily because I, as let's say an innovator, I can take the code, I can use the code, I can modify the code, and then I can redistribute the code, right? And so because of that, it's like, okay, so I get sort of a head start on anything I'm working on, not locked into somebody else's proprietary platform. And if you know, it encourages contributors, which theoretically make the platform better, but also because, you know, it's encouraging these sort of open standards. Like I think about the, you know, the web. So you think about open web standards and what a difference that has made. The web of 20 years ago was largely proprietary, and it was a nightmare to develop for, right?
Yes.
It was a nightmare. And then gradually, we've all gotten on the same page. And for the most part, it's a lot easier to build for the web these days because everybody supports the same set of open standards, except IE continues to just be behind, basically.
Of course.
Microsoft's just getting rid of Internet Explorer. Go
Just
away.
throw it away.
Yep, it's just going to go away. But so it's not kept up to date, but all the modern browsers have, and so it's a lot easier. And same concept, right? If you have a set of open standards, everybody can implement against, assuming that it actually gets adoption, I guess. But that's better than a bunch of closed proprietary standards, right? Where it's like, okay, you can work with this company or that company, but they've got totally different protocols, and it's all locked down, like it's proprietary IP. And so it's not like you can take it, modify it, leverage it, you know, you kind of are playing in their arena, I guess. So I find this pretty exciting. Find it pretty exciting.
So is this available now, or how far along are they with this, Matthew?
Well, I think it's available now. I mean, looking through the documentation, which, I mean, at some point I need to get my hands dirty with this platform, but basically these are instructions for cloning the repositories and getting started.
Oh, so, wow. So it's right there.
Yeah. And as I said, it's primarily, it looks like it's a set of microservices. So, you know, kind of looking to make, I think, device to cloud connectivity easier and offer a bunch of different additional services kind of layered on top of that. It's cross-platform. Pretty much use any language to access it. And what they're trying to say is that by, you know, using this as an intermediary layer, then there still needs to be supported protocols maybe on the front end, because you might be connecting with something over a particular protocol, but everything else then is standard, you know, once that happens. And any IoT devices that you use, they are going to be certifying them, I guess.
Oh, nice.
In order to say, yes, we've tested this, and this is, you know, works with this EdgeX Foundry system, so, or platform.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's kind of like trying to answer the interoperability problem, essentially.
Yeah, and there's a huge interoperability problem because everybody's jumping to the forefront right now with their own systems and softwares and everything else. And I think we talked about that in one of our first shows, actually.
Yeah, I mean, this is true. It's true for any technology, really, but it's especially true when there isn't a defined standard yet. You know, sometimes it like just shakes out over time. Sometimes it's obvious from the beginning, but in this case, you know, I think there are lots of competing standards.
Yeah, I would agree.
Some are proprietary and some are not, and some are just brand new, and, you know.
I think that's a tough part is with these proprietary ones, especially they're coming from pretty large players right now too. Really trying to get people locked down or locked into their platforms.
Yeah, absolutely. absolutely. I think, we certainly know Microsoft has been putting a lot of effort into making an IoT play.
Yep.
And that's really what they're trying to do, is get people, make it easy to get essentially data into Microsoft's cloud and then leverage all their stuff on top of it. And of course, you and I are in the AWS cloud.
Yep.
And they're making the same play right now. And I guess Google is too.
Yes, Google. Oh,
So
boy.
I've heard.
Yes, but you won't get any documentation.
Yeah, or if you do, it's out of date.
Yes. Well, and to be fair, not all of Amazon's documentation is up to date either.
Oh, it's kind of a nightmare, honestly.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
I love. It's like there's so many things that I love about AWS, and then you run into something where it's like I'm doing exactly what the documents say, and it's not working.
Or and it gives you like this amazing. I'm sure.
There was an error.
There was an error.
Okay, great. How do I Google that?
Oh gosh, yes, there was an error. Okay, now what?
Yeah, exactly.
There was
That's all you got? You can't help me out any more than that?
No. Well, it sounds like the Edge X Foundry definitely has a play. And I thought I read in here that they're kind of their Docker-based services. Is that right? Or
I didn't see that, but it wouldn't surprise me at all.
yeah, I was seeing here. It says the Eclipse development system can be employed in a hybrid configuration where code developed in Eclipse can call Docker-based Edge X services.
Cool.
And can help simplify the actual development side of things.
Yeah, I mean, that's the challenge with microservices, as you wind up with, you got to, spin up the various microservices, right?
Exactly, just so you can actually talk to them.
Yeah.
So just so you can kind of keep that information moving. So this sounds really interesting. You have to let me know if you end up playing with this, Matthew.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I'm always excited about something that's open source.
Oh, of course.
The opportunities just, and this is kind of a big deal too, because it's not just some random project somewhere, but it's actually backed by the Linux Foundation, which is also, also a big deal. Here's a little bit of trivia though. Yeah, Microsoft is now one of the biggest contributors to the Linux Foundation. They're like a platinum member or something.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I remember, in the mid 2000s when Steve Ballmer was busy calling Linux a cancer, and or maybe open source a cancer, but now here we are, and it's like they're like all about open source.
That's just ridiculously awesome.
Yes, so very exciting.
And who was the article by, if you don't mind?
Oh yeah, so the article is by William Wong.
Okay.
And this is one that I believe Zainab picked up in electronicdesign.com.
Oh, sure. Nice.
Yeah, very exciting. All right. So that pretty much wraps up our news for this week. We do have a couple of other articles that we'll have in the show notes. And if you're interested, you can stop by, check out the show notes, and see what those articles are. If you have any feedback for us, shoot us a message at podcast@gearforgesoftware.com. We would love to hear from you, and I am still waiting for a recipe. Somebody's got to send me a recipe. But otherwise, that pretty much wraps things up. So, Cliff, do you have anything fun planned for the weekend?
Well, we're going to go to an RV show tomorrow. So, Yep, they've got one at the US Bank Stadium, so we're going to hit that. And I always have projects. We'll actually see if I actually get to one this weekend, and fingers crossed I can get some Battlefront. It's been weeks since I've even turned on the old PlayStation, so hopefully I can get that maybe on Sunday.
Yep, I'm in the same boat. I have not touched my PlayStation for weeks.
Yeah,
so we'll see.
How about yourself, Matthew?
Well, we get tickets to go see a show. We're going to see the musical group Godspeed You Black Emperor.
You might want to say that again slowly, because it took me about 10 times to realize what you said.
It's Godspeed You Black Emperor. Yes, so they'll be in Minneapolis tomorrow night. So nice. Very excited, and have been following them since the early 2000s, I guess, and like
Well, if you catch a
literally
pick, let
2000.
me know.
Yes, exactly. So that's it. Thank you so much for listening, and we hope you'll join us again for next week's show. Until then, so long and be well. Take care, Cliff.
You too, Matthew. Bye.
Bye-bye.